Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Anna Morfides, and in today's episode of Happy Hour, we're going to be talking all about how to change your story, how to change your narrative, and have a different outcome in your life in any circumstance or all circumstances or anything that you are wishing and hoping for it to be different. So there's many YouTubers out there that talk about changing your self-concept, living in the end, changing your story. But why is that important? And how can we do that? So in the counseling and psychology world, there is a modality called narrative therapy, which basically is using concrete scientific and medical procedures to change your outcome, to change your life, to change your narrative, aka your story, by following a specific formula. So it is true what they say, change your thoughts, change your life. And it isn't so far out of reach when people talk about us changing our self-concept or changing the outcome, living in the end of something that we want to experience. And with narrative therapy, we can do that. This video is actually inspired by a session or a talk that I had with a previous client of mine. And we were talking about how the same story plays day in and day out in our minds. And we end up living out that narrative day in and day out in our actual life. So in order to get out of the same narrative, the same story in our mind and living that in our outside world, we have to start with something small to change. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So many times we repeat the same story, but we don't know how much power we actually have in recreating a new story for ourselves. Sometimes we feel and think that if this changed, or if this person were in our life, or if I had this relationship, if I had more money, or if this, or if that. But there's no power in wishing for external things to be there in order for us to live a different narrative. And also that would mean that would be really impossible to achieve, because if we are dependent on outside factors, then it might be a lot more challenging and harder to get to the end result, if not impossible completely. So that's why it is completely up to us. Your thoughts, right, that stem from your core beliefs, that stem from your attachment style, that stem from your perception of the world that you developed as a child, from 0 all the way up to ages of 12, even up to 24, when your brain was still fully forming and your frontal cortex was creating itself, that logic part of the brain. Your amygdala was embedding, like a hard drive, the information that it received, and it like fires that signal day in and day out when it wakes up in the morning. What have you acquired? How has the world shaped you so far in your primary caregiver? If you pay attention to how your world is unfolding in front of you and what your narrative that you live day in and day out is, then you'll know what your core beliefs are, what your attachment style is, etc., etc. It can be sometimes negative and it can be positive. Not all of us have a negative attachment style, and not all of us have negative core beliefs. Some of us are securely attached and our narrative is completely different. My narrative is completely different from what it used to be. Now, every day my narrative is, thank you for this beautiful life. Thank you for the wonderful news. I am so grateful. I am so thankful. And it's not that my life is so much more different than it was before, like with tangible things, but it is so different in energetic type of things. Because before, I used to think and feel life sucks, life's so hard. Why is it so difficult? Why are people treating me like that? What's wrong with me? Why can't anyone love me? my narrative was completely different until I went in 2020. I enrolled to become a counselor. So when it was about 2021, I started to practice the modalities in my second year of schooling. And not only do we have to learn the modalities, but we also have to practice them amongst each other. So I had to apply narrative therapy to my own self and change my story. So I have some notes here actually that I took back in the day, highlighting the importance of narrative therapy because it is so solution focused and it works so wonderfully because it is of no doubt, as we were taught and as we know, our lives are full of stories. Through our life, our experiences have shaped our beliefs and we have made a meaning out of them, which have become our identity. So whatever we experience so far in our lives, we have given a certain type of meaning to that, and it becomes our identity. Like my identity used to be, I am lovable. I'm bound to be rejected. I'm bound to be alone. I'm not worthy. I didn't have other things such as I always felt capable. I always felt in control, because other people, like the person I was talking with today, their core belief is I'm out of control. And I never felt that, but I felt other things. So you might feel like you're lovable, but you feel out of control. So whatever it is that the story inside your mind is playing, narrative therapy kind of forces you to do the complete opposite, affirm the complete opposite. So in my case, the last of my core beliefs that's remaining is I am a bad person. And guess what? I find myself in situations where I keep feeling that core belief that I am a bad person. So what would be of my highest good is to affirm the complete opposite. I am a good person all the time. I have to say this it is of my highest benefit to say this to myself all day, every day, if I have to. I don't care until it becomes hardwired in my system and replaces the other core belief that I have that I am bad. I'm a bad person. So when I think of the thought I am a bad person, I get my nervous system goes into the sympathetic mode and it releases cortisol. But when I think about I am a good person, I go back into non-anxiety state, into my parasympathetic nervous system, and I relax. And now I release oxytocin and feel good neurotransmitters. It is just that simple. So instead of me subconsciously thinking and feeling that I'm a bad person, I now make a conscious effort to say that I am a good person. And whatever it is that you need to say, I am in control of my life, or I am so lovable. I really love myself. Change your story by changing your thoughts, and minimum 60 days minimum of doing the same thing over and over. And I actually heard this on the Mel Robbins show actually the other day. She said, if there's one thing that you can do if you feel unlovable and unworthy and etc., if you don't want to say the words, just go to the mirror every day and high five yourself. And the intention of that is because she was saying when you high five someone, what's the message that you're sending? And the person that she was interviewing answered, oh, you're sending the message like, that's awesome, like that was awesome, you're awesome. So you doing that action and high-fiving yourself in the mirror, you're changing a narrative right there and then, thinking and feeling that you're awesome, that you've got this, right? High five, you got this. You've got this, self. Maybe I'll try that and see how that feels. So the goal in narrative therapy is to externalize the so-called problem or core belief or negative attachment style, because the problem is the problem. We're not the problem. We tend to live in a dominant story and not see the others that are happening simultaneously, because the mind and the ego is that strong and it wants to hold on to the story, the narrative, that identity. It wants to hold on to it, but we are stronger than the ego. You're the one, your true self take a deep breath. I invite you to take a deep breath and like just sit back for a second and feel who you truly are. You're that serene quiet that sits back and is just listening to that narrative. You listen to the story you witness. You're not the chatter. You're the person that witnessed the chatter. So that's why you can change it. You can externalize that what so-called problem. You're not it. You're the one listening to it. So the problem, I am unlovable, is solvable by you affirming the complete opposite, changing your story, having a different narrative day in and day out, doing your self-love affirmations. There's so many out there that you can follow. Louise Hay has a 21-day program. You can do 2. You can do a Deepak Chopra 21 self-love program. There's Oprah Winfrey has one with Deepak Chopra as well. There's so many modalities on YouTube. I have one attachment style program or workshop along with Louise's Hay, like to love yourself. There's so much you can give to yourself to change your narrative. And I'm just going to look at my notes and make sure I didn't forget anything. Yes, the goal is to reauthor the story, and that's why you're the co-creator, right? You are the protagonist in your own story, and you can reauthor and you can co-create and recreate. That's our superpower. So what story are you telling yourself that holds you back? Identify the story. If it's harmful, recreate the direction of the life to a better direction by simply changing that harmful story into something positive. And that's what living in the end means. You are basically saying and feeling the things that you want to have at the end result that you don't have right now. You not pretend, but kind of pretend to be the person that you want to be. And you say that story and you live that story and you imagine what that story would feel like. So then the outside world can match your inside. So fake it till you make it. Yes, but it's not really faking because that's how it's supposed to be. It seems like it's faking because you were conditioned to be and do something else that is fake to begin with, because your original state of being is like you deserve everything, you're lovable, and everything is within your reach. And then because of society, because this is what we come here to learn on planet Earth, is how to fix those core beliefs, are become securely attached to ourselves. These are part of the lessons. Planet Earth is a tough school. It's the toughest school. No one denies that. It's a known fact. So let's graduate so we don't have to come back here and do this again. Rewrite your story, become your author, say the complete opposite to yourself. You got this. I believe in you. If I can change my story, anyone can change their story, because my story was it was challenging. From, if I were to take the ACE, Adverse Childhood Evaluation Report, like I scored an 8 out of 10. The higher you score, the more things you have on your back to let go of, right? So there's been a lot that has happened in my life, but I get it now. The whole point was for me to just let it go, to unlearn the learned behavior that I decided to embark on in the first place with the certain souls that taught me these lessons in the first place. So everything is there for a reason. Everything is always happening for me. I'm not a victim. This is my new story. I'm not a victim. Everything is always happening for me. What am I learning from this? I am a good person. I am lovable. I am worthy. And I want to hear what your new story is with so much love and gratitude. Thank you so much for being part of my story. You have no idea how much this means to me. And let me know if there's anything that you want me to talk about in the next video. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Or if you tuned in my podcast, I'll see you next time. Or you'll see me next time.